Action.
Action. So we the people are coming.
Damn right.
This should
We have to do something. It's out of control and nothing is being done.
No, nothing's being done. I mean, they're just making more and more and more money off of it, and more innocent children are paying for it.
Real life stories to bring awareness to domestic violence, human trafficking, and systemic corruption. Welcome to our podcast and lives. We are so happy that you joined us and hope that you like and follow us, and would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let the show begin.
Good times. It is so nice to see you both again, and I get you both together now. I'm really excited about where this conversation is going to go.
Me too. Thank you for having us. It's not often we do interviews together, but there's a lot of information that we both have perspectives on, so it's going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason why we usually don't do interviews together. She's annoying.
I have a hard time believing that. I kind of fancy her a little bit.
So she has that effect on people.
It's pretty spectacular. I very much enjoy watching her lives. She does an awesome job on TikTok Live.
Oh, she hasn't seen me on there? I was going to say, yeah, but when are they the best? When I come on. Because I come on and just...
Oh, we are not worthy. We are merely peasants.
No, I'm just... So whenever I come on, like, I'm brutal about everything. And then you've got all these people that'll be, well, my guy, this guy, that guy, oh, we're the greatest. Oh, we're going to do it. And I'm like, well, why haven't you already done it? Like, shut up. You know,
yeah, the world needs some brutal honesty, and we're long overdue.
I believe in love, but I believe in tough love. It's the only kind.
Right. It's just not to lie to yourself. So a lot of people misdefine love these days, because love means not only compassion, but also action. So lying to ourselves doesn't help us solve any problem. So Phillip is definitely very direct, sometimes a little unpolished, but we're working on that.
But who cares about
the truth? Well, that's what I'm saying. People need the truth more than they need the so
we got enough politicians and we got enough people full of shit. We don't need no more of that political correctness bull crap. And we also don't need a blowhard that's just running his mouth to hear himself talk to make people think he's Jesus. But
whoever could you possibly be speaking of?
Donald Trump.
Multiple politicians.
So like, yeah, it's multiple politicians. We've got some that are soft-spoken. We got some that won't shut up. We got some that can't talk, like the one we got now. I mean, we got all this stuff, but we don't have what we need, and it doesn't benefit us, the American people. So piss on them. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. It's about time that we bring some reality to TV and not these fake reality shows. I mean, we've got to be willing to get real with ourselves and each other, or we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah. More specifically, when it comes to journalism and news, people seem to believe headlines and believe journalism. And these days, we should know that it's not required to be factual, meaning it's entertainment and you can be entertained, but don't consider that information factual, and don't base your beliefs on these things that are intended to be propaganda, intended to get people's attention. It's drama, but it doesn't mean that it's factual. So there's a lot of misguided people these days that will spend time and energy arguing and debating their truth or what they want to believe, which is often very inaccurate. So I definitely appreciate the direct approach. Phillip's quite good at that, but a lot of times people don't like to hear the truth. And even when they admit it's true, they don't want to accept it.
Yeah, most of the time, your truth ain't the damn truth. It's some fantasy world that you live in to escape reality. Well, instead of escaping reality and living in some fantasy world and believing your truth, why not just like pull your head out your ass and see what the truth is, and we fix it?
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, it's that simple, and there's enough of us to where we just do it. It's like with our nonprofit that we've got, rescuing children, giving children a place to live out the rest of their life, to make sure that they're safe, taking out the bad guys, stuff like that. It's common sense. And this problem shouldn't exist. It should never exist, but it does, because we all walk around with our head stuck up our ass. And then we believe all the bells and whistles, and there's other nonprofits out there that like to talk about things, but they never do anything. And we're tend to be drawn toward them because smoke and mirrors. It's just like politics and politicians. It's all about the smoke and mirrors in the show. You know,
well, they do a good job with their branding and their marketing, and they know exactly what they're doing and who they're targeting and how to target them. And once you get them in, I mean, really, you do whatever you want. It doesn't leave you obligated to do what you say you're going to do.
Right. But the hard thing is that the inexcusable thing is that people keep falling for it. It's not, the tactics aren't new. This has been going on for a long time, but people keep making excuses for it or wanting to suppress, deny, and reject the truth. And like Phillip said, the truth is objective. The truth is not subjective to your opinion or emotions. We have to evaluate the results of, if they're talking, are they showing? Are they actually doing it?
Well, let me put it in different terms. Let me put it in some Phillip Drake terms.
There you go.
The people are not stupid, right? They're not stupid, but we sure in hell are acting stupid. So we can do better. I know we're not dumb. I know we're not stupid. I know we're not this gullible. I know we're not all that. So we just got to quit being it, because we can do better. You know, this isn't, I don't know where you come from, what you guys call it, but here in the South, we have the soaps or the stories.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, okay, now, the most annoying crap I've ever seen on TV, and you can watch an episode, come back 20 years later and already know what's going on, because it's all about who's doing who and what drama and this, that, and everything else, right? So that's the way it is. Hell, that's what society's turned into. That's what politics has turned into. That's the reason we're having all these issues with the kids. We live in a soap opera, and it's bullshit. It's a fantasy. You know, we're the only, well, we're not the only nation now, but at one time we were the only nation that would elect a movie star and think they could lead just because they were a cowboy on a Western show. I mean, come on, people. We know better than that. Now not now, but the time before, we elected a businessman that was a good businessman on a reality show because he could go, you know, and we just assume, man, I like that show. That's going to be a good guy. Man, he's a good businessman. I don't care that he's been bankrupt 7 times. I don't care all the stuff. He's a good businessman. I've seen it. I know it's true. I've seen it on TV. So we've turned into that. We're not that stupid. We're not. It's like Joe Biden. We've seen Joe Biden all over TV for the last 40, 45 years, making a fool of himself.
Well, so for people to absorb the message.
Okay, absorb this. Absorb this. You're not stupid, so stop acting like it.
Amen.
I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. You probably won't like me after me saying that, because it's gonna cut you deep, because it's true, right? We cannot protect our children. We cannot protect our nation. We cannot do anything that's going to benefit our future generations if we keep acting stupid. Now
so give some specific examples of, in your words, you know, how we should not play stupid. What do people need to stop doing or start doing in order to solve these problems? Child trafficking, because that's an issue that both of us combat. We co-founded a nonprofit. It's called Uniting America. So when it comes to protecting children, for example,
here in the States, what we need to learn how to do is we need to learn how to be damn parents again. I mean, that would be a great start. I mean, this is like a loaded question because there's so many different instances of trafficking. But let's just talk about whenever it comes to our children. We'll get to the children that are smuggled into the United States later. But whenever it comes to just our children, if we just be parents, stop being best friends, teach your kids right from wrong, tell them that, you know, stay off the internet. Don't get on this. Don't get on that. That's why, instead of having a device, using a device as a babysitter, because we don't want to pay attention to our kids. Like we have to change all that. We have to be parents again, because the kid's not going to listen to you if you're not paying attention to them. They're going to look for something or somebody else to latch on to, because children need that emotional support from an adult, and it could potentially be a predator.
And they crave attention, whether it's good or bad. Attention is attention, and it's all the same to kids.
Well, children are innocent, so they don't assume that someone showing them attention, which to your point is a human need, especially at their age. They're not going to assume there's a predatory intent. They don't have the mindset for that. And by the way, no one who's not evil and psychotic would have predatory intentions towards a child. So it's a natural, logical assumption on the child's part that this person is safe. And especially if they're trying to use grooming tactics to desensitize them to harmful behaviors or form a secretive relationship, those tactics are used by predatory adults, and no child can outsmart or overpower an adult. But it's also that these tactics are very devious. They're very gradual. There's a whole process to how predators gain access to children. So to Phillip's point, we need to separate the conversation into what can we do to protect our children from being victimized, and what can we do to help children who are being trafficked or have survived trafficking. So on the let's be better parents and citizens part of this conversation, that comes down to personal responsibility. You can't blame Satan and society or our government on the fact that you're not willing to parent your child and be involved and communicate and explain the risks in an age-appropriate way and take that seriously and stop assuming like we need more policy to make the internet safer when I'm the parent deciding to give my child a phone. That's actually my call, my choice, my responsibility. If I'm giving the child a loaded weapon, then I need to train this child. I need to make sure that this weapon is age appropriate, because information, as we know, knowledge is power. A lot of it is inappropriate for children. So we need to be informing them of the risks, but also implementing and enforcing those safeguards and boundaries. And again, that comes down to a personal decision.
Yeah, let me put that in Southern terms. Stop being a shit parent. The end. See how simple that was?
Yeah, version. Well, I agree, and I'm going to expand on that because in every situation that I've talked to a survivor who was trafficked as a child, it gets pretty expansive because there's all these different instances, like if they were brought into the country, etc. But in general, it comes down to, softest way I can say it, negligent parents.
Shit parents.
Whether the parent was truly, let's just say trying their best, single parent, their younger child had a health disorder that needed focus, etc. So they were negligent to the other kid who was out in the streets and became trafficked, or parents that were truly evil and sold their children, actually facilitated the trafficking to varying degrees here. I'm using the word negligent.
Yeah, one's just as bad as the other, and they're both shit parents.
I'm just
absolutely. There are plenty out there.
Exactly. It comes down to parents have a responsibility, and our communities, we in our communities have a responsibility to be looking out for children, because guess what? There's a lot of shitty parents. And unfortunately, those shitty parents are allowed to have children, and those children grow up in terrible environments. And a lot of people in the communities don't assume that just because a child is showing up to church or school kind of looking a little off, people somehow don't think that it's their responsibility to ensure that every child is okay. So this comes down to personal responsibility. It's not Satan and society. It's up to us.
Absolutely. It's not a mind your own business type sort of thing anymore. And that's, a lot of what has gotten us in this deep is there are too many people that watch tragedies occur and choose to turn the other way. And as a community, we have to stop doing that.
Yeah. And I would like to say this too, for the parents who watch this and they take offense to what I just said. Chances are you are a shit parent. Do better. Okay.
For the avoidance of doubt to everyone. Okay. Well, I agree that
I'm talking to the shitty ones. They know who they are.
Right. Well, the thing is, we're talking to everybody because, like, let's just use Phillip's terms. Okay. There are shit parents and there are good parents that we need to get involved and make sure that the children of those shit parents are okay. Now, look, guess what? I'm not a parent. I don't give parenting advice. I'm not here to judge parents, etc. I know it's a very difficult job. However, I also have taken the responsibility to ensure the safety of children in my community, vicinity, friends, and family area. Why? Because it's up to all of us, because it's obviously our responsibility as adults to protect children. In nature, that's very clear to animal species. Somehow that's not clear to all of us as humans. Now, here's the other layer of that. A lot of people are too selfish to do something about it. So again, when we're separating what we can do to protect our children and our communities from what we can do to protect children who are being trafficked, a lot of people will use fear as an excuse. And when they hear about what we do to combat trafficking, oh my God, that's so big and scary. How can you do that? Oh no, they'll come after you. There's this innate fear. So let's just put that conversation to the side real quick, but we'll come back. Let's talk about in our communities. We're not asking anyone to put their life at risk and basically, confront a bad guy who's harming a child. We're talking about get involved with that family at your church or your school or your neighborhood events that seems a little off, where the kids seem really fearful and terrified and maybe scripted. Maybe there's signs of abuse and you're not willing to see that. We're not saying go put yourself in front of traffickers. Leave that up to Phillip. I'm just saying, like, we've got a team that does that. But what we're saying is that there should not be any excuse of fear that holds you back from getting involved or protecting your ego or protecting your church leadership or the people that you see something's wrong, but you don't want to call it out. You need to be braver because children deserve better.
Hey, I'd like to piss off some more people.
I was gonna say that.
Let's do it. If we're gonna do it right. Go big or go home.
Okay, so we've got a lot of children that are in need and are being trafficked, and they're having horrible things happen to them every day. So here's what I got to say that's going to piss off some people. All right, stop thinking that your guy's going to take care of it, because he's always part of the problem. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, right? Stop thinking that your church is going to step in and take care of the problem, because we rescue more children in all different denominations that are getting paid to traffic these children through religious organizations. So stop thinking that's going to happen. And for God's sakes, quit sitting around saying it doesn't matter. We're in the end times and the rapture's coming anyway.
No excuses, people. No excuses.
Yes, none, zero. Look, I'm a Christian, okay? I get where you're coming from with that, all right? But in the meantime, there's a whole bunch of kids that are suffering. So stop being a shit Christian.
Right. That's not what Jesus would do. I want to add a fourth point to his series here, is that stop blaming the other political party if you're unwilling to do something about it, because it makes you part of the problem. There's a lot of hypocrisy, unfortunately. And again, I'm not here to judge people. It's all with love, but it's a call to arms. It's having endured this, having seen the worst of it, but it's what we're doing today that most of the public will never be aware of. We're not asking for their applause or their praise, but we are asking them to do something to stop pretending like someone else is going to do something for them, to stop pretending like the same politicians that are part of the problem are somehow going to fix the problem and be part of the solution, and stop pretending like everyone else except them is responsible to act. This does come down to we the people, not only because these are your children, not the government's, but because it's up to we the people to fix this corruption, because the corrupt guys are not going to arrest themselves. That's not how this works.
Yeah, and here's a picture for these people that think that their church, their guy, whatever, some stupid organization that they belong to, whatever the case, is going to fix it. So here is a mental picture, because I know that here in America, we like gruesome details, and we like to get all in, no. Like whenever she tells her story, people want to know how stupid crap, like, well, how young were you when you were raped? What was it like? How did it feel? Because people can be stupid sometimes. So here is some gruesome details from you. So I run all operations when we go in and we rescue these kids, and we take care of the bad guys, right? So you go in, there's a 3-year-old. It could be a boy or a girl, just laying there almost lifeless but still alive. You pick that child up, and when you pick that child up, you realize that if it's a boy, it could be a boy or a girl, and have a prolapsed anus, which means their intestines, part of their intestines is hanging out their anus. Or they could have a prolapsed vagina, which means their womb has turned inside out and come out. Now, how did that happen? That happened because they are products of the traffickers. And we have citizens, politicians, religious leaders, large corporate business people that are running their penises through those children. Their body is not made for that. Even if you're one of those little small-handed short dick men, like most of them are, that go and take advantage of kids, full disclosure, you destroy that kid. That young girl will never be able to have babies. She'll never be able to have a family for herself. Psychologically, neither one of them will ever be right. The odds of them living through that are going to be slim to none. So not only are you running operations and you're rescuing children that can get up and move, you've got sometimes one, sometimes multiple very, very small children with either a prolapsed anus or a prolapsed vagina, and you're trying to hold them together while bringing out all the other kids and not getting killed. Now, that exists because we can be stupid, and it should not exist. It should not.
We have to start doing something about this. And it's a problem. It's no longer something to where it's up for debate or it's questionable or, well, maybe it's not as bad as what they try to. It is. And on any level, happening to any child is unacceptable, and something has to be done immediately.
Yeah, for sure. And her and I and the team, I mean, we're working our asses off to make this stuff happen, and we're accomplishing a lot of stuff, and we fund everything. So everything comes out of my pocket and her pocket. And it's not that we don't need help, because we need help. We set up all kind of donation stuff, but because we choose not to say MAGA or pro Biden or whatever, like we call it out like it is. They're both shit and they're both pedophiles. That since we do that, people they don't want to help. They get so offended that we go against their guy. And in the other interview, I'm running for president. But so that pisses a lot of people off, and because they're pissed off and because we're going against their guy, they just let these kids suffer.
Yeah, we have to get our minds away from all this political shit. Like, it's not about politics, it's about humanity.
Yeah.
And so we can step up and come together as we the people. We're going to keep seeing the same shit happen over and over and over again from both sides. We have to get away from the whole political sides crap.
Do you remember my campaign slogan? Both parties are shit.
Oh, both parties are shit. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true. It's the same on both sides. You know, regardless of what it is, there's something dramatic and corrupt coming to light almost every day sometimes with these parties.
Absolutely. But people still want to blame. In other words, instead of solving the problem, it's used as propaganda. It's used to divide people. It's used for people to talk about and blame the other guy, the other side. But it's also somehow people are comfortable dismissing the responsibility that we, the people, have. Somehow they're comfortable making excuses for why their guy didn't or why he will next time or whatever. But they're not comfortable facing the reality that if they wanted to, they would. And they don't want to, and they won't.
Listen, folks, and depending on what side you're on, you think that the issue is a bunch of satanic robe wearing, goat horn wearing people running around, sacrificing babies, drinking blood so they can become the great and powerful Democrat or whatever it is, the stupid crap that people come up with, and that it's witches and technologically advanced mermaids. I've heard that one. Swear on a political stage, for a candidate,
oh, Lord,
stand up and say the real issue is.
Played the clip for me. Like, this is
so stupid. People have fell for that shit. This is not a fantasy world that we live in. This is not a television show. This is real. This is really happening. It's not happening in the way that you want it to believe that it's happening. The truth of the matter is that it's big business. Politicians make a crap load of money off of it. These children are seen as product, no more than that. And there's no fancy story behind it. It's just pedophiles getting off on having sex with kids.
Well, here's the thing. It is lucrative. There is a lot of money in it. But yeah, to his point, there's not some, yes, there's weird people doing weird stuff, but that's the majority of these cases is not some witchcraft ritual. There's a sick demand. Therefore, there is a supply. It does come down to economics. Unfortunately, it comes down to money and power every single time. Now, power could mean whatever, rank in some kind of weird cult or group. Or yeah, sure, power can mean something random. Money and power, though, that's what it comes down to. So yes, there's the sexual lust. However, the power part, that's also used to blackmail people, to control people. It's used for a lot of purposes. Again, the whole point here is that kids are suffering and we need to do something about it. How it's happening, all the different ways it's happening, all these details that people get fixated on and split hairs about, they matter less than the fact that we, the people, as a whole, we're not doing something about it. We can talk about it. We can focus on how dark, how gross is the grossness. That doesn't matter. Action matters. Saving 10 children, 50 children, 100, 1,000 children matters. What are we actually doing about it? Fuck the details. What are we actually doing to solve this problem?
Yeah, and a lot of people kind of turn their nose up whenever it comes to blackmail. And blackmail is not good, but I will tell you this. I'll blackmail the shit out of somebody. Now, I'll flat do it. I don't care. I used to work for the government, and that's what we used to do, but it wasn't for the right reasons. So I'm an expert at that. But now, if let's say we got a politician that won't do their job, and I get some information on them, I'll blackmail the shit out of them and make them do their job the right way.
You were well trained.
Yeah, I mean, it matters. Listen, it's time that we, the people, use their tactics against them. That's the only way. If we're going to beat them at their game, we got to write the rules. We got to rewrite the rules. We got to beat them at their own games, what I'm trying to say.
Play smarter.
Yeah. For sure, especially if our motivational efforts are to get them to do their job and to do the right thing. So realize we're not trying to blackmail them to like nefariously do something. We're trying to say, hey, do the job that we, the people, sponsor you for with our tax dollars. Prosecute the bad guys. Don't prosecute the children. These are not prostitutes. These are child trafficking victims, survivors. Prosecute these bad guys. We're also saying that, this is my personal opinion, of all, let's call it a pie chart, like of all the different ways of corruption that the elected officials profit off of, turn a blind eye to, or aiding and abetting, whatever you want to call it, this sliver of selling children, This is,
it's unacceptable.
We're not going to play along. We're not going to pretend. We're not going to just coast on by and pretend like that's somehow okay or going to solve itself. We, the people, are going to take back that power. We are going to protect children.
I hear a lot of stuff about certain states and how great they are and how free they are, and people that want to move to those states and everything. And one is Florida and one is Texas. And I'll be honest with you, that's the two states where most of the children are being trafficked through. And I mean, it's every day we get calls from those states. I'm not saying it's not happening in other states. They just seem to be the epicenter, you know.
Some are more prone to it for, you know, whatever the reason. I know Ohio, I live in Ohio, and I know it's a pretty big problem up here as well with all the crossroads and being such a quick, easy route into Canada and just about anywhere you want to go.
You have to realize that some states are better at reporting it and collecting the data and reporting the data than others. Some states, a lot of states, I'm saying this so nicely, often manipulate the numbers. And of course, the majority of crime in general is not reported, but it can also be manipulated to make them look a certain way. So I agree with you that, you know, a lot of states, I think if they were honest about the numbers and if the actual instances of trafficking were reported, and we know that they're not usually reported, I think we would see much more accurate numbers. But to Philip's point, there's a few states that are considered very conservative and God, country, family type values. And, you know, even the governor promotes themselves as if they really care about the issue and children.
Yeah,
and constituents often say, oh, my governor's so good, and we're having an event, Governor XYZ is going to be there and he'll be so supportive. And
the governor of Texas will take sacks full of cash for anything. He doesn't care. I mean, I know this for a fact. He doesn't care. You can peddle off children. You can do whatever. As long as you pay your dues to that son of a bitch, you can do anything you want.
It's starting to come out to light that, you know, the vast majority of these elites and people in power and control, that's what they're doing. They take advantage of that, and that's the route they choose to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and so, you know, I think we talked about it in the last interview, but when I worked for the government, I worked in Texas for 8 years and 8 or 9 years. And it was really bad. I lived on the border, and I'm not talking about the border being bad, because the border's been bad for 25 plus years. It's just as bad as it is now. But I mean, just the corruption. So you've got the cartels, mostly the Gulf cartel, which traffics children, and they're in control of the southern border area there. Well, Texas, since Texas was one of the last states that belonged to Mexico, you know, in the United States, there's still a lot of families there they're Americans and they were born in America. They're, you know, Texans, but their families have been there forever, and they're related, they're cousins or brothers and sisters sometimes, to the head cartel people just a few miles across the river, right? So they're working together, and the people on the American side in those border towns, they become judges, they become, in some cases, DAs, they become state senators, you know, political officials. So they have the ability to go and talk to the higher officials to make those deals on behalf of the cartel. So we have elected officials that are actually cartel members and related to the cartel members, and the corruption is so bad on our southern border. Now, this is not just in Texas either. I mean, this is in multiple states, but the corruption is so bad on our southern border, and then the officials that are supposed to be combating that actually don't. Like the border issue, a closed border equals more money, or the appearance of a closed border. It's never, they don't close the border. That's bull crap. Just like they don't fully open the border. That's bull crap too. But if it appears to be closed and it's harder for people to come across, then they can charge more money to get them across, which in return is a higher percentage that the elected officials make. So they don't want to eliminate the border issue. What they want to do is they want to make it appear to be harder to get across so they can charge more money and make more money off the people.
It's all manipulation tactics for them to further their propagandas and line their pockets in the process.
And a lot of these children that are coming across, and they go into these facilities, like there's one very large Christian-based organization, a 501c3. It got a government contract in 2018 under the Trump administration. biggest child traffickers in the world. So they're doing it basically with permission of the government. So they'll have these parents come across. They got a contract under the Trump administration to house immigrant children. Okay. They're all over South Texas. They're all over the southern border. So what they do is when family groups are brought across, if the kids meet the criteria of a child that could be sold and could be profitable, whether it's for sex work, labor, whatever the case may be, right? If those children meet the criteria, they will separate them from their parents. They will find the parents somewhere out in an 18-wheeler trailer or someplace packed into a trailer out in the Badlands dead. So now they got these children, these unaccompanied minors is what they'll call them, but they'll get rid of them off the books. And they'll have contractors come in and distribute those children to the people who buy them. And they'll either be bought for sex or they'll be bought for labor, one of the two. And that's all done by our government's watch. And in 2018, it was really ramped up. I mean, it was really turned up.
Right. You said at the beginning of the story, you know, this is done with the permission of the government. It's not only the permission, it's the, you could say, on behalf of the government.
Oh, and we're paying for it. The taxpayers are paying for it.
Correct. It's not only like this is bad enough that they would be turning a blind eye. That's still aiding and abetting child trafficking, but actually facilitating it, organizing it, contracting people for it to do the legwork, you could say, and give them their cut. Again, it comes down to money and power, but Phillip's pretty direct, and people need to understand the truth about it's not only that these government officials are too cowardly and corrupt to do something about it. It's that they are actually facilitating it.
Yeah.
So have their hands all up in it from point A to point Z.
Laws. These government officials are the ones that are setting this up.
Yeah, look, and I'm going to make it very plain. In 2018, Donald Trump was the president of the United States. For the ones that can't seem to get that, right? Whenever that contract was implemented, whenever sex trafficking was really ramped up, that was in 2018. So for the ones of you that whenever I talk about these administrations and I talk about these politicians and everything, and I name these dates, I'm going to clarify it for you. In 2018, whenever this contract was signed with this religious entity to house these children, which majority of them were going to be trafficked, okay? In 2018, Donald Trump was the president of the United States. That happened under his administration and with his approval, okay? Now, I'm not going to just pick on Donald Trump. He's a big piece of shit. I'm also going to pick on Joe Biden because here it is, 2024. We have a different president, and none of that was ever overturned. That contract was not taken away. So nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. So there is no lesser of two evils here. And if there was a lesser of two evil, evil's still evil, and you're a damn fool to go with evil. So it goes back to what I was saying before. We got to quit being stupid. We're not stupid, so why act stupid? One of the things that I always say is we have to start seeing truths for what they really are, not what we want them to be. Because chances are your truth is a damn lie and nowhere near the truth.
We have to be willing to look at the situations for what they are.
Yep.
Correct. Stop making excuses for the people that give you good excuses. They're not even that good of an excuse, to be honest, but stop accepting excuses. There's no good reason not to protect children.
Yeah, it's time to step up and start speaking the truth and doing something about it.
Intending to implement efforts or combat this. So I'm done with people playing stupid that hard, as I say. And there is a process to, you know, lovingly massage them into the realm of accepting truth. But I think that in this day and age, we've had a lot of awareness. We have a lot of talk on social media. We have, you know, seen the people who post the hashtags and pretend to care. Knowledge is only power if you do something with it. So if all you're doing is being aware and talking about it, but you're not taking action, you're just as much part of the problem as people who are unwilling to talk about it and take action. So yes, awareness matters, but only if we're willing to do something with it. Yes, this is bigger than each of us individually, but if we the people come together, when we the people, or a percentage of us who are willing, come together for the children to not only expose this corruption, but to end it, that's how we win this. It's not about blaming people or dismissing our responsibility. It's about being willing to take action.
Yes. And it's not even something that's an option anymore. Like, we have to do this. I mean, whoever's out there watching and listening, we have to stand up and take action and do something.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you probably noticed I'm pretty hardcore. And I'm going to go with what she said. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Now, I'm the guy that if you're going to be part of the problem, I'm going to treat you exactly the same as I would treat the traffickers, because you're allowing them to exist. So I'd recommend being part of the solution. You can call that a threat. You can call it whatever the hell you want.
It's a reality check.
But it's a damn promise. You better start being part of the solution.
Time to step up.
Absolutely. Phillip and I have seen a lot of organizations and groups of people that have every means to do the right thing, to do something helpful, meaningful. Also, the people who are pretending to either care about it and or pretending to do something about it. It's disgusting how many, just let's call them groups, are so hypocritical is an understatement, because to me, that's pure evil, to be appropriating as if you're part of the solution and to be actually part of the evil and or facilitating the evil. You're still part of the evil. Turning a blind eye, you're still part of the evil. Turning a blind eye, talking about it, but not doing something about it, but profiting off talking about it because people think you're doing something about it.
Oh, I can just imagine all of the donations, all of these organizations get to combat all of this. And well, where's the rallies? Where are the petitions? Where's, anything?
Yeah, but talk. Like, that's it. Let me give you an example, and I'm not going to mention the name of the organization, not yet, but I eventually will. So we had an issue where we were going to rescue some children, and we were in a bidding war is what it was, because there's a lot of stuff that you got to do to be able to get access to these kids. So we were in a bidding war.
These kids were being sold like in an auction.
Yeah, through CPS, just so you know, in the state of Texas. So we didn't have enough cash on hand to have the winning bid, right? So I personally reached out to an organization that's constantly, yay God, yay Jesus, witches and the Democrats and blah, 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 blah. Well, they get all this tons of freaking money from all this MAGA horse shit, right? And I'm like, look, we're going to need about $35,000. 8 children, only way we're going to be able to get to them. We need the money. Well, I don't know if we can give you the money or not, but I would like to video it and put it in a documentary so we can bring awareness to it.
What?
And we could not get to the children. And this is a very large organization that runs their damn mouth a whole hell of a lot. And they'd rather go chase ghosts and witches and shit like that and manipulate people than to actually save children. And if they watch this, you know who the hell I'm talking about it. And I don't give a shit how you feel.
Amen. I second that.
Here's the thing. When I was a kid, being trafficked in an international religious cult, for those who don't know, trafficking is one of the many forms of abuse, but this was a known cult that people studied. So let's just break this down. There were academics and investigators and journalists who studied us, and they even filmed us. They filmed various films and documentaries about this cult and the predators and the predatory practices and the abuse and the illegal practices and the prostitution and all the bad things that were happening to adults and children. About 25,000 children, just so people understand that. A lot of people filmed us and studied us, but not one person did something to help. Not one of those documentaries did anything to help. Did it change policy?
You would think, like, as a person, like, I watch documentaries all the time, and like as a viewer, I would just think and assume, oh, they're doing a documentary. Well, this is, what was filmed and what was done in order to make them safe. Not so much, huh?
Power if we do something with it. So again, I believe in the power of awareness, but honestly, just to use Phillip's terms, if people are too stupid to do something with that awareness, the awareness is meaningless. So I take this pretty seriously because, again, there's a lot of people wanting to film it, wanting to study it, wanting to talk about it, but not people actually doing something about it.
Yeah, and see, they don't want it eradicated. These yahoos don't want it eradicated because it's their bread and butter. Now, they might not be screwing kids. They might not be selling kids. They might not be doing any of that, but they're profiting off the problem and off the violation of innocence of these children's innocence being violated, exactly the same as the cartel, exactly the same as the traffickers, which makes them exactly the same. They can yay God, yay Jesus, anti-Democrat, anti-whatever. They can get up there and they can preach. They can hold their hands up. They can make pictures of themselves to make themselves look like God. They can do all that shit. But at the end of the day, they're part of the problem because they're not part of the damn solution. They're making money off the innocence of these children. And I have a problem with it. There's different levels of how people make money off this topic. And it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Don't just stop. Don't stop trying to be a savior. to make yourself feel good, to be self-righteous, to make money. Like, just stop that shit. And there's so many of them out there like that. It's the majority of these nonprofits that's out there that's like that. We have reached out to every religious organization known to man. Not all of them, but, you know, every denomination, you can only imagine, and we all get shot down. Like, I think she got offered a $75 gift card or something.
$25.
Like was it 25? Okay,
that was a
25.
nonprofit whose website states they house and support survivors. I had 2 survivors I needed houses for, or homing, you know, safe place for. They met every qualification, 4 hours on the phone or so. They sent me a $25 gift card to Walmart.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is all this money that people are donating? Like, they literally do nothing with it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it goes in their pocket. I mean, it's a great nonprofit. It's a great way to launder money.
Right. I wish I remembered their name because I was researching several at the same time, because otherwise I would call them out. But their 990s, their financials, like, especially after I got that response, I was so insulted. That wasn't even worth 4 hours of my time. That's why we put our own time and money into this, because we have to actually get this done. People are in general unreliable and unwilling to help, but there's also just so much misappropriation of funds, and you just waste so much time talking to these organizations and people that just, I'm not sure exactly where all this money is going. I could make some logical assumptions, but it's not going to the survivors. It's not going to the mission. And there's a lot of people that actually need help. At the worst part of the spectrum, there are nonprofits and groups that are pretending to be part of the solution that are actually part of the problem, actually posing in order to get access to kids. Like, yes, that's a thing. But at the lightest end of the spectrum, if they're just misappropriating millions of dollars, of course, this is near and dear to my heart, because there's no support for survivors. If people are even able to escape the world of trafficking, and like, that's a whole thing that's usually not really possible, specifically when we're talking about children being trafficked. We're not talking about adults who end up on the streets into prostitution. We're talking about children being severely controlled and abused in a way that they can't control or outsmart or overpower. There are so many children that need help. There is so little support out here in the world, in our country, for these children. Like, where would child trafficking survivors go these days? Then you have well-meaning people donating money and thinking that they're being part of the solution, and they intend to be. Then you have corrupt organizations that are 501c3 government, you know, registered entities that are pretending to do something about it, collecting millions of dollars. God knows where that money is going, but when it's not actually going to the cause, there's so many layers of corruption in this entire topic, not only with the predators and those actually doing the trafficking, but with all the ways that people profit from it without solving the problem. It's an obvious issue.
And here's another funny thing. I'm not going to mention the name because they haven't cut a check yet. But the only group, organization, whatever it is you want to call it, that has offered to help us, I've spoke to the CEO, and they genuinely want to make a change, right? Like, genuinely want to make a change. Now, we're still working on agreements and all that stuff, and they got to prove some stuff to me, you know.
Talk is cheap. Everybody talks.
Yeah, before I put my name on it, but we've been in negotiations with a company for a while now. They have the ability to really help us. And I don't mean just finances. I mean the ability to help us track down these pedophiles, to track down these traffickers. And they have a whole bunch of money. And they're willing to help with the Survivor Center and stuff like that. And it's not a religious organization. It's not a governmental organization. It's not another nonprofit. It's a huge conglomerate in the porn industry, for goodness sakes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they don't want children being on their platform. They're trying to stop it. They're trying to combat it. They don't want rape on their platform. They're doing everything they can to combat it. Now, they're catching hell from it, but they want to eliminate this problem. They genuinely want to eliminate this problem. Now, if adults want to go and video themselves doing whatever, that's fine. They're adults. I could care less. But whenever children are involved, or even if it's someone that is being forced against their will, well, I'm going to get involved with that. I'm going to get involved with that, and I'm going to fix that problem. It just blows my mind that out of all these do good, do right, yay, whatever organizations, it was
the one that's labeled bad.
Said, look, we got a problem. They reached out to us. They're like, look, we got a problem. We send information to all the different law enforcements. We send it to this. We send it to that. We've worked with other organizations. We've done so much to try to eliminate this problem, and nobody does shit. Everybody just takes their money. Nobody does anything. Politicians, they come after us. They do this. They do that. nobody wants to fix a problem. We want to fix a problem. We need to team up with somebody that will eliminate this problem. And this is the porn industry.
That's just blows my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Believe me, like he said, we've asked the religious organizations and the nonprofits and the good Christians and the patriots and the MAGA people who say they care. We've asked all those people. We've done
all the one who it's their job.
Talking to these people, doing presentations, being the cute puppy, as I call it. Like, I've spent that time. How many people do you think have donated? On our website, we're actually very transparent about this. So we have gotten a couple offline donations. Realize that we as a nonprofit have raised less than $10,000 for the survivor center that we're building. We have raised less than $10,000. Him and I have put our money into it in addition to our time, our resources, etc. But realize that when I spend 2 hours or 4 hours or an hour talking to these people who really care and awareness matters and thank you for what you're doing and you're so strong, God bless you, not one of them do something about it. Not one of them donate to contribute to these efforts that we're doing. We have a little like ticker on our website where you can see the donation goal and the amount donated. It's like $130 something. And thank you to
we're almost at $200.
Well, we have a guy who started his own fundraising campaign. I'm talking about on the Survivor Center page.
Oh yeah.
We have a new guy who's gotten about $200, which is
that's pretty good. I'm impressed with him. He's a really good guy.
People have done. But the point is that you can see on the website, there's very few people that have actually donated. So like on the one hand, we're not just here to talk about it. We're actually doing the work. On the other hand, we're spending a lot of time talking about it, educating people, meeting them where they're at, explaining it to them, massaging the truth into their heads. But does it actually help if they're not willing to do something with that awareness?
Absolutely. And it's so like it needs to be far more widespread too, and far more acknowledged. And look, this is what it is. There's just so many people that I think, like, even the ones that do acknowledge it, I don't think people realize the extent that this is happening.
No, or how expensive it is to fight this evil, how much it takes. And again, we're not asking anyone to join us on the front lines and risk their life. We're not asking them that. We're saying, this is really bad. We, the people, need to do something about it. What can you do? And we get a pat on the back. And God bless you. You're so strong. Thanks for what you do.
My thoughts and prayers. Now, I'm all about some thoughts and prayers. Don't get me wrong, but
we need more to be done, folks.
Her and I have spent millions.
And our time and our lives. Like, I have really good friends of mine who love and respect each other, etc. And they're like, I don't know how you can be doing this. This must be so triggering. I have a lot of peers and friends from my past that were raised with me in this cult, right? And a lot of them, my friends have doing great, moved on, doing their life, very supportive, but they're like, I don't know how you can do this. That must be so triggering. I don't know how I couldn't like spend all my time. I would be so worried about my kids. What about like, yes to all these things are real risks. And yes, it's real time and involvement that I could be like, I don't know, chilling or doing something that I'm making money off of. Like Phillip and I don't have, it's not that we're bored and have nothing to do. We have a lot going on that we're also juggling in the meantime, right? We are having to create new businesses and new income generating for-profit businesses in order to fund this nonprofit that we're doing in our spare time and funding, because we can't rely on the public to actually do something helpful and put their money where their mouth is, to put it that way. Because quite frankly, like, yes, we can receive in-kind donations. Are people actually showing up with those things? No. So I'm just like, yeah, it's not just about the money. There's so many other ways you can help, but what are we actually doing? Because posting hashtags on social media is not actually doing something. We get that, right? Now, for sure, protect your children at home. Like, the lowest bar you can set is protect your children at home. Like, here's, yes, please do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, stop being a shit parent. You're good.
Right. Like, please, baseline, don't be a shit parent. Let's do that. But also, what are we doing to help the children who are being trafficked? What are we doing to combat the bad guys? What are we doing to change the culture and our society into one that is intolerant of predators and also supportive of survivors? What are we doing to make sure survivors actually have a safe place to live and be and have education and medical care and trauma-informed therapy? Again, we're saying pick something and do something. Not a hashtag on social media, not thoughts and prayers, something actually tangible. Do something that Jesus would have done. How about we start?
It's a package deal. There are plenty of problems and such that are wrapped up into this, and plenty of different things that you can do. It just takes a little bit of research. Now, you have a website. What's your website? I'll put it on the thing, and I'll put it in the description as well, so folks can check it out easily.
Thank you. It's unitingamericainc.org. Unitingamericainc. Inc. You can find out more about the Survivor Center that we're building, more about the work we do with social justice, and we also help homelessness, and we help with a lot of natural disasters as well. But our big focus is not only combating child trafficking, so that means good guys like Phillip Drake and his team do rescue ops where they take care of the bad guys and they rescue the children. And then we're building a center for these children that we rescue where they can be protected and find peace and healing and have education and medical care and the trauma-informed care that they so desperately need and deserve. So if you guys can do anything to help and be part of the solution, we appreciate it more than you know.
Yeah, and we also run ops to rescue adults that are being trafficked as well. I mean, we talk a lot about rescuing the children, but
we do a lot.
We'll go after it. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're being trafficked and you want out, we'll come get you. But whenever it comes to children, they can't. It's hard. They don't know how to reach out. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand. So, I mean, we have to run full-on investigations and stuff where a lot of times whenever it's adults, we'll just get a phone call and we go in and get them. And then we try to give that adult a place to live, make sure that we can make them productive members of society, but also offer them protection. So if their pimp is still alive, we make sure that they can't come get them, you know.
I mean, that's got to be hard. I mean, that's, survivor of domestic violence myself. It's really hard to heal when you have to, constantly be worried about looking over your shoulder and never knowing, if or when they're going to fancy a new appearance, because people that are like that, they're narcissists and they want that power and that control, and they go after it full force.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm not bragging on myself, but we've had children at the center that they start calling me daddy and stuff like that, and it's a little weird, and I have to be careful how I handle it. I'll respond to it, but I have to be very careful how I handle it, right? But the way I look at it is this way: whether it's a child or an adult, once we get you and you're in our care, I am your big brother, and I will fuck up anybody that comes after you. I don't care who it is. They will have to come through me. And if they get through me, there's 12 other guys like me.
No hope.
It's not going to happen. And whenever you have these victims and they have that, they can heal. And you can imagine, I'm definitely not a psychiatrist or psychologist or any of that stuff, because I've had some of the adults will sit in, they'll be talking to me about their problems, and I'll just look at them and say, well, just get the hell over it. Like, I'm the protector. I'm not somebody that sits there and talks about your feelings and stuff, because I'm just like, well, why are you worried about this person? I will not allow them to come here. They will not be able to come here. If they do, you got nothing to worry about no more.
I feel like
some things don't need reason. It just needs to be.
But when kids, granted, when they just come out of a super traumatic situation, everyone's in a different stage. So there's a lot of course, fear and all that kind of thing. Once they learn to trust, once they really acknowledge, and once they accept that they're really in a safe place and that people got their back and, no one's trying to exploit them here and that kind of thing, kids really tend to trust that, big brother protector thing. Like, once they really believe they're safe, it's like it clicks in their head. They're like, yeah, what I mean? I have an advocate, a big brother, someone to protect me, especially for kids who never had that. Like, it's healing, but it's very empowering. And it's a really cool example for them to see that you can be that kind of protector.
Imagine how many kids are, raised like that's all they know is trauma.
For sure. And no adult is safe, and everyone's got some kind of negative attention. So what's interesting is that with adults who have been trafficked or victimized or exploited, it's a lot harder for them to
They tend to want to run back.
It's harder for them to separate from that life. It's harder for them to get rid of that fear, even when the bad guy is no longer a problem. Like, even when they are in a very secure place and that guy is not going to be able to come in. Like, even when it's certain that they are safe here, it's difficult for them to calibrate to that place of peace because their comfort zone is chaos. So they tend to have a hard time not only adjusting, but accepting peace. Sometimes
completely rewire your emotions and your mentality and what's right and what's wrong, and get everything to actually stick.
And what's really a threat, etc. There's a quote I read, something about you're not healing to be able to handle the trauma. You've had enough of that. You're healing to be able to handle the peace. And that means a lot for people who have been through any kind of exploitative situation where they've been victimized, that they've had to adjust, unfortunately, to be able to handle and survive whatever the chaos or abuse was. So peace is not their comfort zone. So it's interesting when adults are given that opportunity to have peace, they also have to choose that. They have to choose to accept that, to be open to that. Now, it does start with actually being physically safe, because if you're not actually safe, you can't really trick your nervous system into, you're always going to be in that fight or flight. But with children, the beautiful thing is that when they're rescued early enough, we're not trying to discount any of the level of severity of the trauma that they've been through. Like, that's never okay. It's never going to be okay. But when you have a child who has survived that, obviously the goal is to not only get them physically safe and protected, but then get them to in a place where they can find peace and, just sort of release that fear and that environment they've been so used to, and then calibrate to a place of peace. But they're young enough that they can actually calibrate to that and adjust to that, and that be their new norm. So yes, there may still be mental and even physical things they'll always have to deal with, but you can help them find that place of homeostasis or balance or peace much quicker sometimes when they're young like that. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to rescue these children, because unfortunately the majority of child trafficking survivors are never rescued. That's a terribly alarming truth. But then for those that are rescued, even fewer of them have a safe place to go where they're truly safe and able to have help that's truly helpful. So seeing these children being able to have safety and also peace and eventually find healing, it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, and we're getting set up to where with the children that we rescue, let's just say we rescue a 1-year-old, right? Whenever they turn 18, if they choose, they can stay with us. It might be a different facility or a different place, but they are with us for as long as they need us. So we're setting it up to where we can have funding to where if those children live to be, say, 70, 80, 90, whatever, they're going to be secure. So it's just like with me, the way I look at it is I just see them the same as I do my own kids, and I have to make sure that they have a future even after I'm gone.
Yeah. For most of these survivors, what they want, granted, when they're young kids, they just want to be kids. But most of them eventually, when they get even teenagers and adults, they just want a normal life.
And a purpose.
Right. Yeah. A purpose is what makes it all make sense. Especially like I say this often, it takes a while to get to a place of healing where you can go outside yourself and help other people, because you have to be grounded first in order to actually be helpful to other people. But the fighting back is actually a huge source of empowerment. It's a huge place of purpose that makes it all make sense, not justify it. We're not trying to make it pretty or say like, oh, yay, you went through all that for a reason. We're saying that it makes it all make sense when you choose to fight back, because now you're fully informed on, the tactics, the strategies, the things. You can face it, you can overcome it. You're not afraid of it. And you have this burning passion that's, can't be stopped.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what led me to start Humanity Against Violence, just all of the corruption. And you have to get angry. You have to get angry, and you have to stand up and speak out and fight back. And something interesting that I've noticed as of lately, shit is hitting the fan with all of these Hollywood elites and such. Names are flying left and right with those who are involved in a lot of this, trafficking and, getting these young kids in Disney and Nickelodeon. And it's like, man, and just to stop and think, to look at it from that perspective is one thing. But then when you stop and think, how many people have just remained silent and said nothing? And I understand it's traumatic, but we're stronger and we're braver and we're better than this, because as hard as it may be for, any one of these folks to be brave enough to speak out, think about what those children are going through that you suffered, the same things you suffered through is happening to other children, and you're just allowing it to continue.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to say thanks. I like giving credit where credit was due. You just mentioned about a lot of this stuff that's being called out and the truth and things and all that stuff. So I would like to say thank you, Katt Williams. I never in a million years would have thought I'd ever said that. Anyway, that doesn't matter. But thank you, Katt Williams.
It's an example of doing something with
Amen.
Example of awareness and action, because talking about it only leads us to a certain extent, but if we the people get loud enough about it and talk about it to the right people in the right way at the right time, we can enact change. We can force our elected officials to do something because we put them on the spot to make sure that something is done.
And then we do have, you know, I mentioned the Katt Williams thing. So we do have people with very large platforms like himself that finally get tired of the nonsense and then speak out against it, right? Not caring if they get canceled, not caring what kickback, not caring, just being honest.
Doing it for the right reasons.
There's not many people like that, but the ones that will actually do it and tell the truth, not just use it as propaganda, but or to make themselves more popular, but that will stand up and tell the truth, man, I respect the shit out of that. Because they got a lot to lose by doing that, like a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And it takes a brave soul to call it all out and to go, I mean, there's some powerful people that are involved.
We need more of that, though, because a lot of people can do that on their platforms in their way, like you featuring this message on your platform. I wish more people were willing to do that. And I want to thank you for doing that. And we should acknowledge that the majority of mainstream media and public figures and celebrities and whoever are not willing to do that. And we should acknowledge that that's not acceptable, not because everyone shares equal responsibility to speak about this, but because what could be more important? If we're choosing to focus on everything but the true injustice, the true victims of society, which are children who are being sold and exploited, if we choose to keep believing the lies and being distracted by the propaganda, we are part of the problem. So I want to thank every single person who's had the courage to not only be aware, but do something with that awareness. Y'all are the real heroes.
Yeah. Amen. It's we need more of you.
Well, check us out at unitingamericainc.org. And I came up with the name Uniting America, just so you know.
Very nice. Very nice.
Because the reason why, like, we have a lot of businesses that are Uniting America, Uniting America Inc., Uniting America Network, Uniting America Hatcheries. We use that Uniting America because nothing is possible until we, the people, come together. So we have to come together. And that's not politics. That's not party politics. That's not that. It's just us as a nation coming together because only we have the power to come up with the real solutions.
Yes.
And then
it's time, America. It is time.
Yeah. So that's why we use Uniting America. You know, I've had some people kick back from that, but they were party loyalists and they had their head up their ass. So I don't
has a problem with Uniting America. You know, they're not on the right team.
Yeah, no, you know, I mean, listen, I've had people say, I'm a real patriot. I don't like your title, Uniting America. I'm like, shut the hell up. You're not a patriot. You're a loyalist.
That makes zero sense. People never fail to amaze me with their ignorance.
Ignorance is not bliss. These days, it's a choice. So,
no, yes.
For everyone planning to be stupid, who's willing to face the truth, but more importantly, the few who are willing to take action.
Yeah, and that's what she said, pretending to be stupid. We as a nation, we're really not stupid. We're just acting stupid.
Absolutely.
It's like a fad. It's almost like now in this nation, it's cool to be a dumbass.
Well, that fad is about to wear off, so people better start getting on the right side of right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for having us and for letting us share this message. I know it matters.
I'm so happy that y'all had some time to meet up with me again. Always a pleasure to see your amazing faces. Love what you do, and hopefully we can start getting some better awareness out there with people who want to actually create change.
Definitely.
Let's kick some ass.
Do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Have a great day.
Cut.
Cut. Okay. I can see.
That was awesome. Thank you again.